welcome to Marketing Strategy Wednesdays. We are no longer going to meet on Mondays for our sales. So that we there you go. So that we're going to combine our sales meetings with our general monthly in-person office meetings. Okay. So for all of you who, I know virtual works for most of us, but we will do our in-person meetings. We will do our in-person meetings every first Tuesday of the month as before. And I think the next one is, I think it's November 2nd at the office. And in between then, every Wednesday, we will have our Marketing Strategy Wednesdays, which is going to be basically different people talking. So this is our first one. We have JD for today. Next week, we have Ria. Ria is going to be my guest speaker, and she's going to go over real estate and technology. She's super tapped into that. We also have our next one after that is going to be on how to properly read a preliminary title report. I know for a fact most realtors do not know how to properly read them and what to look out for on those reports. So that's going to be basically in about 2 weeks. So without further ado, I know people are texting me. I'm not going to take too much time because these sessions are going to be quick, roughly between 30 and 45 minutes. I do have Mr. JD, the champ of real estate, aka the I call him the cold calling beast because he's been cold calling since before it was a hype thing over these last couple years, and people got hyped up on it on social media. He's going to be able to tell you the strategies that have helped him be successful as a realtor, a wholesaler, investor, all of those things. So the tools that he uses, and what just makes him successful. JD, there you go with the belt. We can't hear you, you're on mute. But
can you hear me?
Let me see if I can, there you go. There you go. Okay,
Oh.
can you say something now?
A 1, a 2,
Still
a
can't
2
hear
to
you.
3. You good?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, so there you go. He is the champ. He is, it's very unique that you find realtors these days that believe in cold calling. So in my opinion, if you've been around as long as I have, I know that we have to get back to basics. I say this every meeting. I say this all the time. A lot of people are jumping ship with real estate that are in various sectors of real estate, whether it's, I know some escrow people quitting because their business is so slow. I know lenders that are quitting because business is so slow. Realtors that are quitting because business is slow. Investors are actually jumping in, which means it's not slow for them. It's actually their time to shine. So what happens is a lot of us just don't know how to get back to the basics. Door knocking, which is something I keep talking about. You got to get back to basics. Door knocking, cold calling, getting in front of people, getting outside and networking. Keep in mind, cold calling and door knocking is all the same as going out to a networking event, doing an open house. It is all the same. You're meeting strangers or semi-strangers, and you're trying to sell yourself for whatever it is, whether you're an investor, whether you're a lender, whether you're a realtor. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to have a brief overview of just cold calling. So again, I want to welcome Joseph. I call him
Hey, hey.
Joseph. Makes everybody else call him JD.
Call me by my government.
That's just what I know. So welcome. I'm going to give you the platform. Let me know if you need to, you should be able to share your screen if you need to, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you start cold calling in the first place.
No, no worries, no worries. So Joseph Mac, I go by Joseph McLemore. Everybody calls me JD except Ryan and my mom if I'm in trouble. So it's cool. Joseph or JD is cool. I go by the champ of real estate. Um, Big reason, like it's part gimmicky, gets me in the door with people. Everybody can kind of relate to the belt and the champ thing. But it's also a mindset for me. Like I used to play sports, I used to play football, and I was all about trying to be the best at that. So I try and look at this as the same approach. And it's also one of the reasons I kind of fell in love with cold calling because it's one of the few things in this industry that you can actually control the output of what you do. So you can decide how many calls you're going to make. You can't ever decide if a buyer's going to move forward with you, if they're going to get their credit right. You can't decide if a seller's going to be willing to use you as a realtor or use you to, or even sell their home to you. But you can control how many people you contact. That gives you more opportunities, so you can find the right person for you. And it was kind of like that same approach that the more work I put in with this, I know I can see results with this, and I'm big on that. So that was one of the reasons I fell in love with it. Another reason it was what you said earlier, Ryan. Like a lot of people don't do it. A
They
lot of
don't.
people are they don't. They're fearful of it. You know, that's something I want to touch base with you guys on. And to me, I like that. You know, like I like doing things that people are scared to do, that people aren't willing to do, because you usually, if you are doing those things, you're on the right track to find success. You
Yeah.
know, so it's one of the things I like to tap into. So, like I said, that's pretty much why one of the reasons I feel cold calling is important today. Like Ryan mentioned, we are in a downward shift with our market. We literally went from the hecticness of 2020 to
Right.
2022 where people were paying over. You know, I don't know how many people I saw get out of other industries and decide to come into real estate because they felt it was easy. You know,
Yeah.
like they wanted to tap in because homes were flying. You could literally just put a house on the market and it was going to sell for over asking. You didn't really have to have a skill set. You just had to have an opportunity in your hand that you could pass on to somebody. And now that those opportunities are dwindling out, rates are up, less people are out buying and looking, that pool is drying up, people are getting scared and they're moving on. And this like cold calling, door knocking, open houses, those are some of the tools we know that don't stop working. It's just a matter of how much you work to get it done. And me and Ryan were talking about it earlier. I kind of liken it to you know, being on the freeway with a bunch of drivers. Now you guys are in LA. I see how y'all drive. Y'all drive. You got to go. Every time I say I go to LA, I got to put my LA hat on because y'all drive with a heavy foot. Y'all drive. I know I got to drive aggressive. I got to get out the way.
Yep.
It's this. It's kind of the same thing. I feel like this with this marketing, how cold calling is. It's one of those things like right in 2020 to 2022, the highway was congested with realtors. It was a lot of people in our way. It was a lot of realtors that were just getting deals that honestly didn't have business getting those deals, but they're in the right place at the right time. Now I
Yep.
feel like it's the opposite. The freeway is clearing up. A lot of people are getting off the highway because this stuff that they're realizing how hard it is. And now you
Yep.
got these open lanes, and it's like, why would you slow down in open lanes? I know y'all don't slow down when y'all see the freeway open up out there.
Press the
So
gas.
you hit the gas, you go faster. The speed
Press the
limit is
gas.
85 out there to 90. You already know
So there
when
you
the cops
go.
ain't around.
There
So
you
it's the
go.
same thing with cold calling. You might as well put your foot on the gas because everybody's getting out of the way right now. So why not double down and do more to help yourself? And it's just cold calling. I like it. I like it because it spreads into other parts of the industry too. Whether, like Ryan said, whether you're talking to people at a networking event, you're hosting an open house, you're door knocking, being able to speak to strangers and getting to how you can help them, who you are, what you get, finding out a problem that they need solved, how you can help them in closing. It's all part of the same process. When you're networking at an event and you're meeting people, that's what you're discovering. When you're at open house and you're finding out if you need to work, you can work with somebody, that's what you're discovering. It's a mental thing we put in our head that we make one harder than the other, but it's really not. You're using that same skill set to basically do the same thing. So that's where I'm at. So, and one of the things I like to ask is, Is this interactive, Ryan? Like, can I ask? Can I call out people?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah,
point them?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So anybody that feels like coming off mute, like give me a reason why you aren't cold calling.
Are any of you cold calling? I know
Yeah.
that I would say let's ask that because I know a lot of people don't want to cold call. My
Like
team
you said,
like cold calling, but Kashana, go ahead. I can hear
like
you.
you said, scared, fear of the
Yeah,
unknown.
yeah. Scared of
I got you.
rejection.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
No,
I know.
anybody else got anything else to add? Asia, Andre, Joanna. Don't get
Andre, you
nervous
cold
on me.
call.
I
Are
know.
you able?
I used to cold call quite a bit,
Mhm.
and I actually know a few people who's gotten sued.
Gotten sued from cold calling?
Yeah, yeah. I guess the
Really?
seller that or the person that they contacted was on the do not call list, and
Mhm.
like
Mm,
I know a guy in Houston that got sued for like $4,000, and like the guy to court and won, or the seller won. Thank
Wow.
mm.
Okay.
Well, that's definitely a risk you take.
you.
I would say because when we pull lists, we try to not get the ones that are on the do not call list, but
Mhm. Stuff
kind
falls
of
through the
hard.
cracks. Yeah.
Yes, it's kind
And
of
I,
hard.
yeah.
I would also
And
add,
okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I also would like to know, like, with like the scam, like numbers coming up scam likely and stuff now, like I was feeling like when I was cold calling, I wasn't really getting a lot of answers.
The answers.
Mhm. So
Yeah,
so valid points across, and I kind of I'll touch on. Go ahead, Ryan.
real quick, I was
I'll
just
touch on
gonna
each
say,
of those.
JD, can you see the chat? Because I know some of them can't talk because they're like at work or somewhere. So the
Okay.
chat, I have Chanel that said,
I do see it. Yeah, she said
yeah,
she doesn't know
okay.
what to say exactly, so you aren't sure what to
You need
say. That
script.
yeah, the scripts exactly. I got that. So yeah, yeah. So no, kind of covering one. So all kind of pretty much valid reasons. I totally get it. I know one of the biggest ones is just a natural human reaction to fear of rejection. Like
Right.
we are, the human population, we are tribal people. Like,
Mm,
and it's one of those things, like that's something that's been put into our DNA that if you're pushed outside the tribe, you're rejected, you get lost outside the tribe and you're more likely to not survive. And
right.
that human element is still deep within our DNA, and that's hence where that fear of rejection comes from. Okay, so it's definitely something it's a psychological battle. But when you get very very okay with understanding that they can't hurt you, you know what I mean? Even with the instance of like with the do not call list, you can use. I've thank God in the 7 years, 6.5 years I've been doing this, I've never been worried about getting sued. I've been threatened that I'm on the do not call list, and
Yeah,
usually a very quick apology and hang up gets you off of that.
yeah,
And I'm usually just very, very apologetic, like, hey, I did not know that. I will get you instantly removed from my system. We won't bother you again. I'm so sorry about the inconvenience. And most
yeah.
people at that point will honestly back off. Okay. So I usually go about it that way. And it goes back to the human the element of being able to have communication with people. If you could quickly build rapport and sound human, people are more likely going to be understanding. So you can get out of that. And then
I
as
want
far
oh, go
Go ahead,
ahead, go
Ryan.
ahead. I just wanted to kind of like hone in on what you just said. So many times when people call us or we call someone and we're cold calling or someone calls us, instantly you can tell it's a cold call or it's somebody who's just dialing back to back. That is going to be your number one mistake when cold calling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
JD, we were just talking about this earlier, but it's like when you call someone on the list, if you call me and you say, hi, is this, I need to speak with Ryan Fox. Is he there? I'm gonna tell you, I get that call all the time. I know off the bat, you don't know me. you're either like a bill collector or somebody that's a cold calling person that I don't want to talk to. But when you call and you say, "Hey Ryan, how you doing? How's your day?" "Oh, I'm good. How are you doing?" My guard is down. You see, so when you call, you want to sound natural, although we do have scripts and things of that nature for you to to help you start. You're not going to go off of the script. You're going to call like you're calling your friend to get in the door. I just wanted to
No,
touch
no, you're
that.
fine. That's perfect. That aligns where I was going with this. So
Mhm.
as far as scripts, and not knowing what to say, I totally get it because it's one of those things like as humans we like learning from experience. One, we like doing things that we're good at, and so we're already hesitant to do. If we don't feel we're good at cold calling, you don't want to do it. So it's the same thing, and when you don't want to look stupid while you're doing it. So if you don't know what to say, you hesitate. Me personally, I'm not huge on scripts as much anymore, but I do think it's a great way to create the framework of how you need to talk to people. Okay. The idea is to use the script to build that framework, but not get stuck on the script. Because you can instantly tell when someone is talking from a script. You can tell it sounds super robotic, it sounds very, very off, it doesn't flow well, but there is a process you got to get to and get through that initial thing while making cold calls to get to the point where when you're making calls it feels more fluid. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's part of the process. Like Ryan, I go you and there are a bunch of sites you can literally type in real estate scripts on Google and find a bunch of sites that are giving stuff away for free. My challenge to you is when you find those, practice and get used to making those feel like real conversations. Tweak that intro so it's, and I always say just put it in your head that you're talking to a family member about selling their home. How
Yeah.
would you talk to your family member if they were selling their home? You wouldn't be like, "Hey Jim, it's JD. I wanted to call you about your house on 3456 Elm Street. Are you thinking about?" You wouldn't do that. You'd be like, "Hey, Jim, what's going on, man? Hey, bro, man, I saw, man, it looked like your house is beat up right now. Is you planning on doing anything with it?" "No, you're not." "Okay, man, I got some people that might be interested in buying it, man. If you're interested in selling, I could run some numbers for you and see what you could get back." It just
There.
makes it feel more normal. So it's like, but it's just like I said, we go into it with this demeanor that kind of freezes us up. Okay. So just going I always like to like in cold calling to working out. Like how many of us know we need to work out? You know what I mean? If not daily, at least every other day. How many of you know somebody that's always saying they want to lose weight, but every time you see them, they got a bag of M&Ms or Skittles or something like that? It's the same thing. I feel like it's the same thing with cold calling. I hear a lot of realtors and people say they're not busy right now. Things is going slow. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you hear it, Ryan. You got a
I hear
team.
it all the time.
I know you hear it, and that's why I'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," and I always ask them like, "Well, how much time are you leaving on the table? How much are you actually putting into this? Like how many hours are you putting into what you need to do?" I think having a balance of how you get your business is great. Um, but I also think like you got to make sure you got to really look yourself in the eye to figure out how much time are you giving to each thing. Because
Mhm.
I hear a lot of people say they're busy, but they're scrolling on Facebook or they're scrolling on Instagram. They say they're looking for ideas to post, but they're not posting. You know what I mean?
Busy but not productive. That's the thing. Busy,
Exactly.
you're preoccupied with things, but you're not doing things that are going to be productive.
That are going to be productive. Yeah, and that's how I look with cold calling. Like I said, it's the workout that you do not look forward to doing, but it's the workout that you know you're going to get your results. Okay. So it's like I hate doing burpees at the gym, but I know them things work when I do them. I I'm a big boy. I like eating, but I know when I eat healthy, I feel better. So it's the
I'm
same
with you
thing
on
with
that.
this. Come on, man. Like
I'm with you on that. But I
I
think that's
like
the
rich
key.
foods. Hey, we in the industry that puts us around a lot of different things and a lot of different people, and we in it where we
Yeah.
eat good. So
Yep.
it's I mean, we're afforded an ability to live a lifestyle that a lot of people aren't able to live. And
Right.
it's kind of the same thing to do, but to be able to sustain that, you got to put in the work. Okay. So
Definitely.
So, kind of just touching on like kind of how to cold call. So, one of the first things, like I tell people all the time, is you got to get your mind right. If your mind is not right, when you're getting ready to make a cold call, it's gonna come across in your calls. If you are nervous before you do it, you're gonna be stuttering. If you are pissed off before you do it, you're gonna be rushing through the calls. You're gonna be talking very aggressive. You got to kind of check yourself and give yourself a mental reset before you do it. That you're approaching this without any attachment, and that you aren't going to let whatever result goes on the other side of that call reflect back on you. So, like I'm at the point now I don't really get cussed out a lot. I've been cussed out a few times. But I don't let it get to me either way because I understand that whatever's going on the other side of that phone may not have nothing to do with me. Especially when I call a lot of people that are in pre-foreclosure and I already know they got a lot of stuff on their shoulders. It ain't got nothing to do with me, and it's just whatever's going on with their day. And it's the same thing. Like, and what's crazy is some of those same people that have cussed me out when I initially called them call me 2 months later asking what I can do.
Yep. Because now they're more desperate. Now the
Because
time, the
now they're
clock
more
is ticking.
desperate. They're
Yep.
realizing their situation. But
Right.
because I didn't, thank God I didn't react in a negative way initially, they were willing to call me back and apologize and ask what I can do and help.
Yep.
So it's one of those things you got to put the work in. Another thing you got to understand that it's a grind. You got to go into it and knowing, understanding that it's a grind. It takes me about 100 to 150 contacts to get a deal. Okay. So to get to about 100 contacts, I get about a 10% answer rate. So for every 1,000 numbers that I dial, I get about 100 pickups. In those 100 pickups, I'm probably getting about 97 no's. Or matter of fact, let me break it. I'm probably getting 72 hell no's. I'm getting another 20. I got it figured out. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I'm getting a group of hangups, and then I'm getting 3 people that are really listening or talking to me to figure out what we can do to help their situation. Okay.
yep.
So you got to understand, like, and those numbers change depending upon how good you are. So when you guys first start, you don't probably need to talk to about 200, maybe 300 people, keeping it a whole 100 with you, keeping it a whole buck. You're gonna probably need to talk to about 200, 300 people before you start getting some solid results or get a deal in. Just because your skill set isn't there yet, it's not developed. You may like. I remember one of the first deals I got for a pre foreclosure wholesale. I was pulling lists, I was calling people left and right, getting told no, getting hung up on, all of that. One guy finally called, was like, hey, I came across your house on such and such. Would you be open to selling? And he said, yeah. I did not have a script in my head with somebody that was going to say, yeah. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I didn't even know how. He
Ready
said,
for the
yeah. I was like,
nose.
yeah, I'm so used to the nose and
Yeah.
going on to the next one. When he said, yeah, I started stuttering like, well, let me figure, you know what I mean? Thank God
Mhm.
it worked. It ended up working out. We ended up being able to get the deal done, but it was one of those things like I was so prepared mentally for the no's, I wasn't ready for the yes. But every once in a while, you'll get those opportunities where they don't even want to discuss it. They go straight to, yeah, what can you offer me? But you got to have that understanding going into it that every once in a while those are definitely home runs, but those do come if you keep putting in the work. You got to just keep putting in the work. You got to keep me and my partner just say we chopping the tree today. We sharpening our axe. That's us getting our skill set, getting our list, getting the right list, getting our skill set together. That's us sharpening our axe. The next
Mhm.
act is just chopping a tree until it falls. You got to just keep swinging away, keep swinging away. Okay.
It's a numbers
So
game. Numbers game.
it's a numbers game for real, straight up. So the concept of cold calling, we tend to overcomplicate it by like what we said before. What do we say? How do we say it? All of that good stuff. The key thing is just focusing on. It's really just 4 elements to the call. It's your introduction. It's your body, the body of the message that you're conveying, where you're finding out that they actually have a problem. Listening to them, understanding what their problem is, giving a value statement, how you can help them with that problem, and then going for the close. And the close can be a follow-up call. The close can be setting an appointment. The close can be sending them a contract. you know. But either of those can be the close. But if you think about the call in those 4 elements, it just makes it very, very easy. Okay. So like for me, like my intro is kind of like what Ryan said. I don't some of the generic scripts I read in the past felt too old school. They felt very, very salesy. It's very, very high. This is Joseph with Agent Core Realty. We have a house for sale on 123 Banana Street. It's 3 bedrooms. Nobody talks like that I know of. You know what I mean? So I change all of that up and I just make it more normal. Like if I'm calling a just listed list, I let them know, hey, this is Joseph, local realtor. I'll be real brief. I don't want to take up too much of your time. We just listed a house not that far away from you, and we're trying our best to help the seller get it sold and find a buyer. But we want to start with people in the neighborhood because we know how it is important it is that you have somebody you know that stays next to you. So do you have any friends or family that you think that maybe you're looking to move closer to you? And I'll go about it like that, where that feels like more like a normal conversation than just spewing out a bunch of numbers. And same thing, like, because that getting your foot in the door is the most important part. I do exactly what Ryan says. I assume that whoever is picking up the phone is who I need to talk to.
Yep.
So if I call and I say, hey, I see Ryan Fox's name. Hey, Ryan. Then I let them get that puzzle. Like, who is this? Hey, Ryan, this is Joseph McLemore. I'll be real, real brief. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Hey, I was just calling you about it looks like you might be connected to a house on 123 Banana Street. I just want to ask, this might be a stupid question, and I apologize if it is, but do you have any interest in selling that property? And then just get quiet. From there, if it's somebody that is in a dire situation, they're going to open up. They're going to let you know what they need. They're going to let you know what they're trying to do. And then I take it from there. And then that's when you go into listening to their problem. You start collecting data. You start figuring out, yeah, we are thinking about selling. We need to move to Texas. Oh, we are thinking about selling. We got behind on our mortgage. So, we're just trying to figure out where to go next. Okay. So now I know if I can help them get to wherever their next destination is, whether it be helping them get the house sold, buying it and flipping it as a wholesale, helping them find out or where they want to go next and hooking them up with a property manager or whatever the case may be, I got a big chance of building rapport and them being more likely to want to use me. And then that's after I do that. That's when I go into my value statement. This is how I can help. This is what me and my partner do. We specialize in helping people in foreclosure. I'm a local realtor, high performing. We specialize in selling homes over value. This is what we can do. You go into letting them know, like, listen, I heard your problem. This is how I can help you solve that problem. Okay. And then from there, you go into your close. And that's just setting up, like I said, whether it be setting up an appointment. Hey, it sounds like this may be something we may be able to do together. When's a good time for me to meet you at the property so you can give me a proper walkthrough? Is today at 4 p.m. or tomorrow at 6 p.m. better? And I always try to go for some type of assumptive close. I assume that they're already on board. And I don't just ask straight out for dates. Because if you give people dates, especially when they're in tough situations, they'll stall it out. Because especially people in pre-foreclosure, they hoping for a miracle. They hoping God gonna bless them and they gonna win the lotto and everything gonna go back to being normal. So they're gonna start. So you wanna, while you have that rapport built and they're warm and on the hook, you want to try to reel them in. So that's when I go for assumptive type of closing. Even if I'm trying to send them the contract, I say, hey, you know what? It sounds like everything is gonna work. We can definitely make this deal work for us. If I can send you an agreement that's at the price that you're asking for and we can close on the date that you're looking for, is there anything stopping you from signing this? Then usually if there's something hanging them up, they'll let you know, oh, we're not sure where we're going to go next. Okay, I can definitely help you guys get to an apartment or whatever the case may be. Is there anything else that's going to hold you up from stopping to sign this? They say no, and this I'm sending the contract straight over while I'm on the phone. Okay. But those are the little steps I definitely suggest, like, to get better at this. One, find a script, find a bunch of scripts. You'll start seeing that they kind of have the same fluidity to them. They may be saying the same things or they have the same process, literally how I laid it out right now. But then start practicing it. And you can practice it as is for the first few times. But then I challenge you guys to start changing it up to make it fit who you are. How do you speak to people? How do you talk to your friends and family? Make it more yours, make it more approachable so you're doing what you need to do. Couple key things too, make sure that this sound corny as hell, but smile while you dial. You got like they always say like, you know, like I know some agents that actually put a mirror in front of their face to make sure they smiling while they dialing. I ain't that heavy on it, but I will say have your attitude in a good place when you're making your calls. Okay, just make sure your attitude's in a good place when you're making the call, so it comes across that you are ready to be helpful. Um, Another thing is make sure you're matching tonality. All right, if you're talking to somebody and they answer the phone, they're like, "Hello." Are they energy low, or vice versa? You don't want if they energy low like that. You want to grab the phone and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Da-da-da-da. It's gonna feel salesy. Same thing if they super upbeat like, "Hey, hello, this is such and such." You want to be like, "Yeah, yeah, this is Joseph. How y'all doing?" Hey, you want to kind of match their tonality where they're at because that goes back to human evolution. We like people that look sound like us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a small little thing where if you're calling and you sound like them or you're on the same thing, their defense is lower just a little bit to get you a better chance of getting in. So make sure you're trying to match their tonality and meet them where they're at. That'll help. Also, repeat what they say. Usually I repeat the last thing that they say, and then I'll answer it. So if they say something like, yeah, man, we're dealing with the foreclosure. You know, we're trying to work with the bank to do a loan mob, but we aren't sure if it's going to work. So we are kind of fielding offers. So I'll be like, okay, great. So it sounds like this foreclosure is giving you a headache. You're hoping the bank's going to work out something, but if it doesn't work out, you are willing to sell. And they'll go, yeah. Okay. And then I'll go into either asking another question or asserting what I can do to help from there. Okay. But what that does is another subconscious thing where people feel like people love being listened to. And if they feel like they're being heard, and like I said, you don't want to do it like a robot, but do it like a normal conversation. They feel like they're being heard, they're more likely to open up to you just a little bit more. Okay. So those are like some of the key things while you're doing it. I definitely suggest I'm trying to move this along fast, Ryan, because I know you said not take up too much time. Um, so
No,
let me
you're okay.
see. Yeah,
If
and
you
then
could
all
um, oh, go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, if you don't mind, because this is some really great information. You guys remember to match their tone. If they're uppity, upbeat, you match that. If they're feeling a little low, the energy's low, match that, because this is what's gonna get you cursed out. If my
Yep.
energy's low, which probably means I'm having a bad day, do not call me sounding like Sally, I forgot the girl's name, but don't call me too uppity because you're gonna annoy me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't mean you sound down, but you want to just kind of keep the balance to where you don't startle them. But as you're talking to them, you can increase the energy level, by helping them, by listening. So that's important when you're calling them. Forget the scripts. Listen to them because people will give you their life story. If you can get them to answer, that's the hardest part. Once they're
Yep.
on the phone and if they stay on with you, I think they say if they stay on with you longer than like 5 to 10 seconds, you have the opportunity to at least have a little bit of a conversation with them. And if they're
Straight
in
up.
Portland, they're in something's going on, it might not be a deal right then, but just like JD said, what happens a lot of times is it's not a deal right then, but they'll call you back in a couple weeks. Hey, you called me a couple weeks ago. We had a conversation. You have a dog just like my dog, and da 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 da. So you built that rapport. That's what's gonna get them to call you back when they are ready.
Straight up.
So
And
I would touch that.
yeah, I was gonna say you could tell when you've made a good rapport because they'll probably remember more than you do about the conversation.
Yeah.
What tells you that they were paying attention and you did something right. And that goes to like the last thing. Make sure that you're listening more than you're speaking to when you first start off. You don't really want to be speaking as much until you're getting ready to go for the close. But initially, you want to be listening for their problems, listen to their situation because it helps build rapport. Like I said, humans love to talk about themselves more.
Yeah.
Okay, even the most unselfish person. That's just how we are built. So, especially when people are in a situation and they feel like somebody they got somebody's ear that's willing to listen and help, they're gonna open up a lot more. Okay.
Right.
So
Right. So
next, like, oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say, so what tools do you use when you're calling? Are you
That was
calling
literally,
as your next
yeah,
thing?
you took the words out my mouth, man.
Okay.
So the two biggest tools I use are and I know, like you said, that was a question, like how do I get my leads, and then how do I go about calling them? All right. And so the two
Mhm.
biggest tools I use, and these are usually the ground floor ones that you need, is Property Radar and Mojo Dialer. Okay. Property Radar is about 79 a month. Mojo Basic, if you just want a single dialer, and just being able to call without any extra bells and whistles, it's about 100 a month. Okay. So all in roughly about 180 a month if you need to start with. And I'll even say, if you don't feel like doing Mojo Dialer and you starting from the bottom, just get Property Radar and use your hands. Use your hands to just dial the numbers.
And
Okay.
what does Property
So
Radar do?
yeah, I'll show you real quick how I use Property Radar so you can see my screen pop.
And make sure when you guys are calling these people, you are taking notes. We have different spreadsheets that we use on my team. And when my cold callers are calling, they're keeping notes of that conversation. So anything that can help us if we need to call them, when we need to call them back, or just to take note of anything. It could be that there were sisters on title of a property. They're looking to buy and sell next month, or they're moving to Texas, or they like to cook. I don't care what it is. Keep some notes that will help you remember the person, but also when the person or you or someone else has to call them back, they have a little bit of something to go with. Okay,
Yeah,
versus just, hey, you own this property and we want to buy it, or we have a buyer for you.
yeah,
Try
and
to
that's the cool
tap
thing
in.
with Mojo. You can kind of use it like a CRM like that. You can make
Mhm.
notes while you're dialing. You can like I'll get calls, especially because I do a lot of wholesaling out of state too. I'll get calls from Ohio or Detroit numbers, and I'll be like, "Who in the hell is this?" But it's
Right.
cool. Like I could literally type their number into Mojo, and it goes straight to their property and straight to
Mm.
the notes that I've added. So it's ways you can use it. Like to Ryan's point, like if you don't have all that yet, use an Excel sheet. That's how I started. I had a
That's what
straight
we do.
Excel sheet. Yeah, yeah, I'm not a pen and paper dude. I'll lose the pad, but I use an Excel sheet to do what I need to do and get busy. You can start that. You can, if like I said, if you're starting from the bottom and that's where you got to start at, just start at where you at until you can access some of these bigger systems.
Yeah.
But so Property Radar, I'll give you guys a quick example of how I use it to build a list, and then I'll give you guys an example of how I make my calls too. So with Property Radar, once you look in, it gives you a bunch of different. I can look up single properties. I can create lists, things like that. So and it saves the list that you actually create. So when I go in, I go discover, I go search. So we're gonna go Los Angeles County, and I'm gonna show y'all how many opportunities you can find out there. Okay. So I'll go Los Angeles County. These are basically it's 2 million properties in Los Angeles County that are owned. So then I'll go property type, and as you see, you can break it down by all kind of different ways: beds, baths, year built, age, square footage, all that stuff. I'm just gonna go single family, condominiums, and multifamily 2 to 4 units. Add that criteria. You'll see this number drop down now. Now it's 2 million available. Okay. Now, like I said, I like doing a lot of pre-foreclosure properties because I know these are people that even though they're being bombarded, they're still more likely to want to sell. I'm looking for low-hanging fruit. Okay. So then next, I'll go foreclosure, in foreclosure, and hit yes. So now there are 4,100 properties that are actually in foreclosure status. Okay. I'll go foreclosure again, and this is another cool thing. You can pick the stage that they're in. So I'll take away any third owned or bank owned properties. So, because bank owned, pretty much the bank already snatched. Third owned is probably another wholesaler or flipper that's attached to the property now. And at that criteria, you'll see the number drop down again. So now it's down to 3,000. Okay. Then if I really want to get specific, I'll go notice to sale, original sale date, and then pick my range. So I'm gonna pick from November 1st till November 30th. Oops. It'll let, oh, there we go. Boom. So now it's down to 221. So right now in LA County, there are 221 properties where people have been sent a notice to sell from their bank and their property is set to be auctioned off in November. These are desperate people. These are people that are trying to figure out what the hell they need to do next. Okay. And if you are the one that can connect with them and build rapport and give them an answer to their question, they're going to be more likely to want to work with you. Okay. So make sure you check on, that's a way you could kind of use this. And pretty much from there, like if I click this, it'll let me make the list. With my version of Property Radar, I can download up to 5,000 pieces of data a month. It goes up from there. I'm grandfathered into an older plan. I think the $79.99 plan gives you 10,000 pieces of data that you can pull. The more you pay, the more features you get. You can add it so they give you numbers, they give you email addresses. I use a skip tracing service that's built in my Mojo to get all of that info. So that's how I get all most of my stuff. But it's just a lot of different ways around it, how you can use it and help yourself. Okay. So then once I have that list created, I'll download it as an Excel sheet and I'll upload it to Mojo, which is my dialer system. Okay. Now, Ryan wanted me to try and give you guys an example of what it sounds like when I'm calling. So like, as you can see, like I have about, if you look at this number right here, I got about 40,000 pieces of data of properties I've pulled in the past, whether it be notice to sales, notice of default, absentee owners, things like that, anything like that where I can get a one up on somebody. Okay. So I'm gonna try and give you guys a live call session because it's about 4:30 in Detroit. And Detroit calls usually go smooth. Like Detroit people, I'll be honest, Detroit people being, I don't know if it's just they blue collar, they Southern or what, but they seem to be more in touch with their situation than West Coast people. You call West Coast people, yeah, you call West Coast people and they think because they got a lot of equity, their situation changed, and it's like, well, if you can't afford to make that payment, you're gonna be in trouble regardless. But Detroit people seem to have a little bit more grasp on what's going on. So as you can see, I got a bunch of different numbers in here. I got a number that I use just to call Detroit. And I know somebody asked about the spam likely thing earlier. Okay. So one of the cool things with Mojo that they've added now, there are different ways you can get numbers, but if you just got one number you're using, you're still fine. Now what Mojo's done, they've added what they call whitelisting a number. Okay. So you can upload your number, and once Mojo verifies it, they put your number on a whitelist and they send that number to other carriers. So AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, they'll send your number to those carriers, and when they communicate with those carriers, it makes it so it's less likely that your number comes up as spam likely. Okay. So that will help increase your answer rate if you're having that issue right now. Because I've had that happen before too, and I'll be like, damn, like ain't nobody picking up today. And then find out that my number's coming up as spam now because I've been using it too much. So ever since they've added this whitelist feature, I've had a lot less of that now. Okay. So now, cool with Mojo, I have a triple dialer. I have it set. So basically what that means is it's going to dial 3 numbers at once. You're going to see 3 names pop up here. Okay. Once one picks up, it goes green, and that lets you know I'm connected to that number. Okay. You can pick how many numbers. If that's too intimidating, you could change that. If you want it to ring a certain amount of times, you can change that. I like to keep mine at 4 because I want it going through these numbers like that. Okay.
And so basically it just has the numbers lined up. Calls one, they
Exactly.
don't answer, goes to the next number. They don't answer, goes to the next one.
Goes to the next one. Exactly.
Very
So
cool.
I ran through this one. Let me see. We'll see if we could actually get somebody to pick up 603. So, and they use their own servers to dial for you. So it'll show your number as it's calling these people, but you got to call in to this number and put in this pin so it can connect you to their server and they'll start dialing for you. But super simple. Once you get the hang of it, it's stupid simple.
You are now logged into the Mojo dialer. Please press the start button on your screen to begin calling. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Sorry, I missed your call. I do return all phone calls.
And so normally when I get a voicemail, I'll have a pre-made voicemail that I can drop and keep dialing to. So I can hit my drop voicemail button. It'll drop a voicemail on those ones that have voicemail set up too. So it's a lot of cool features with this that just make you a lot more efficient.
Is it dialing right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is it's dialing all of it. It's dialing. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Luther.
No, you got the wrong number.
Oh man, I'm sorry about that, bro. Hey, quick question for you, man. Have you ever stayed at Eileen Street, 18468 Eileen?
No.
No. Okay, man. I'm completely off, man. I'm sorry about that, man. You have a good one, okay?
Yep, you too.
Bye. I always try to confirm too, because when these skip traces happen, sometimes it'll pull renters' numbers. And if it pulls a renter number and they stayed at that property, I could probably get the
Please leave your message for
owner's information that way too. Now, if I get a real good one and get the going real good, I might just click off Ryan. So if the conversation get to going too long.
I understand.
Might have to get that money.
All right. Lock it in.
Yes.
Okay, so real quick,
No, go ahead.
okay, real quick, because I know a lot of times they don't answer. I just want to tap
Mhm.
on a few things before we need to let everybody go. If you're cold calling and they don't answer, two questions. One, do you immediately leave a
Oh,
message?
hello, Janice.
Hello?
Hello, is this Janice?
No, I'm sorry, you had the wrong number.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, ma'am. Quick question for you. Have you ever stayed on Clover Lawn Street, 12189 Clover Lawn?
No.
Nope. Okay, I totally
No.
got the wrong number. I'm sorry about that. You have a good one, okay?
All right.
All right. Bye. Here, I'll pause it real quick so you can say what you were saying, Ryan.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know.
It's clicking. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it though. So, matter of fact, yeah. No, you good. I stopped it. You good?
Okay. Sorry about that. Can they hear us?
No. Well, I got my speaker on, but once you stop talking, they can't hear you. You good?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. So for one, if you call someone and they don't answer, are you immediately leaving a voicemail or are you sending a text message? Because I know a lot of times they don't answer. Most calls don't answer. What do you do right then? Or do you just redial them later in the day or the next day? What do you do?
Great question. I usually don't try to leave a voicemail until the second or third call.
Okay.
Reason being, like, especially when I'm dealing with pre-foreclosures, if people's natural curiosity, the curiosity in people naturally makes them want to call back a number that they don't know. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out who it is. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are likely to call you back to figure out who you are. So sometimes I leave that intrigue. If I, when I'm dialing, if, like, let's say the voicemail kicks on and it's the exact name that's attached to the property, I'll make note of that to know that, okay, this is a good number. I need to
Right.
call this one back, you know? And then that way, if I don't leave a voicemail the first time, I know I need to call them back a couple of times, see if they'll pick up. Then I'll send a voicemail. To your point about text messaging, good one, really good one. Definitely a good tool to use, especially for people that are in pre-foreclosure. Because what I've noticed with people in pre-foreclosure, they're seeking some type of control, and
Mm-hmm.
they can't control how much their phone rings when it's the bank calling them, when it's the credit card bill calling them, when it's their car note calling them. They can't control that. But if they get a text message sometimes that says, "Hey, I know you're going through this situation. I have some options that can probably help." When they feel up to it, they'll text you back. And it's just a way for them getting control. So me and my partner use a service called Launch Control.
Mm-hmm.
And we send out a lot of batch text messages like that. So that's usually our process. We'll call the list a couple times. If we can't get a pickup, we'll upload that list into Launch Control, send them a text blast. If they don't respond or whatnot, we call again. That's when we start leaving voicemails. So it's all a
Okay.
process on how you want to use your system to figure it out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. I would say that another thing to just I want to add on here, when we do cold calling to foreclosures, um, or pre-foreclosures, a lot of the time people call them and they are just looking to buy their property.
Mm-hmm.
One unique thing that being a realtor, being an investor, even being able to do hard money loans or other types of loans, one unique thing with us is that we're able to offer different options. So it's not always we just want to buy your property or we have a buyer, because a lot of people get offended.
Yes.
Excuse me, you just, many people, if they live in that home, they don't necessarily want to sell. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
prevent the bank from taking it. They're trying to prevent any type of sale. But if you can offer them options, sometimes you get a little bit more of a rapport with them, even if the excuse me, the option doesn't go through. So usually their credit's a little damaged because they're behind on mortgage payments, which means they're probably behind on other payments.
Right.
But sometimes we can do like a quick hard money loan if there's a ton of equity, or there's just different things we can do to help them. See how you can listen to them and see how you can help them before you just go into, well, if you don't want to sell, buy.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's a great point too, Ryan. Like I approach a little bit of both ways.
Mhm.
Um, so normally if I'll call and I'm very laid back with my approach. I try not to be aggressive because, like you said, a lot of people go straight for the jugular.
Yeah.
And most people that are in this situation, they don't want to sell their home. They're just in a situation and they're trying to figure it out. Naturally, like you said, they got uh sentiment. The home has sentimental value. They may have raised kids in it. They may be old, whatever the case may be. But I approach it a little bit of I mix mine both. Sometimes I'll go straight out and I'll ask if they're off looking to sell, but my approach is different. My approach isn't, hey, I just want to see if you want to sell. I'll usually go, hey, I know this might be a stupid question or a silly question. If it is, I apologize in advance because I don't want to offend you. But do you have any interest in selling? Usually their guard lowers. So
Right.
even if they don't want to sell, they'll say, no, you know what, that's okay. It's an okay question. You're probably calling me because it's in foreclosure. Hey, complete
Right.
transparency, you're right. I think that's why my assistant put this number on my list. Okay,
Right.
then that's when they'll let you know what their situation is. And
Right.
then I'll go about it and I might go, well, hey, just so you know, me and my partner specialize in helping families that are going through stuff like this. You got a few options you could kind of take. Do you mind if I kind of go over some of those so you can keep the home? Then if you do that, like to Ryan's point, their guard lowers again, and they'll start, well, what can you do to help? Now
Right.
what's going on is two things. one, you're building rapport with them because you're approaching it like no one else did. You're trying to give them a way to keep their home, which is their ultimate goal.
Right.
Even if in the back of our mind we know like ain't no way you're gonna be able to keep this house.
Right. You
Ain't no,
can't
you know what I'm saying? Like bro, you just told me you ain't worked in 3 years and you just whatever the case
right.
may be, you can't do it. But because you're listening and you're willing to give them at least the options, it's building rapport. They trust you a little bit more. But
Yeah.
then two, what you can do is you're literally walking them through all these options they can take. And as you're walking them through these options, they're realizing that none of this is gonna work.
That they don't have any options.
They don't have any
Yeah.
options. But
You're
it's
putting it
just
on them.
exactly. So I'll go like, hey, have you tried doing a loan modification with the bank? Oh, they told me I didn't qualify. Okay. Did you try for the California mortgage relief program? Oh yeah, I signed up. They said I didn't qualify. Okay, dang. Forbearance, repayment plan, are they open to that? No. All right, man. Well, the last two options I have for you are the two that I try to avoid. You can try filing for bankruptcy. I'm not a licensed bankruptcy attorney. I suggest you try talking to one to figure out if that's an option for you. Two, maybe you decide to sell. If you decide you want to, or I'll go. I've used Ryan a couple times for hard money loans too, and I'll say like we may be able to get you a hard money loan, but I tell them like up front, hard money loan, the interest rate is going to be extremely high, and a lot of hard money companies do not like the loan on the primary property. Is this your primary residence? And it's once again, I'm checking off. I'm on the phone with them, and they're checking off the boxes instead of me forcefully telling them you can't do that.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. So then you end up still painting them in the box of okay, your best option might be to sell, so you get some of your equity.
Yep.
Mm. So yeah, that's like to your point, Ryan. That's kind of how what I work on. But yeah,
Yeah. I think that's the best way to do it, no matter how you're calling, or what
definitely.
list you're calling. Depending if you're calling as a realtor, you have a slightly different angle, but either way, you want them to feel like you want to help them, whether it's you want to list their property for sale, as a realtor, whether it's you want to buy their property or have buyers for it as an investor. Um, always seem as if you're trying to help them with something,
Mm-hmm.
not like you're calling just to benefit yourself, just to get the lowest price on their property, just to get a listing. Listen to them, and it's going to help you get better results every single time. And remember, it's a numbers game, so don't be afraid to get hung up on, or even if I don't think they curse you out too much unless you're not listening. Because I think before people typically get to the point of them cursing you out or screaming and shouting, you aren't listening to their tone. You're not listening to their energy. They don't want to talk or they're not liking what you're saying. You have to know how to mold that conversation to where you can get off on good terms, to where at least you
Yep.
can call back later, or they'll call you back later, possibly. So,
And
um,
even more so, Ryan, from a psychological standpoint for yourself.
mhm.
If you getting cussed out a lot or hung up, that's draining. It can be
Yeah,
draining when you attach to it.
very
So like you got to take these small wins when you can get them. So like to Ryan's point, if you can get off with it being on good terms or them
different.
feeling pleasant, that encourages you to keep going a little bit more. I don't.
Mhm.
I'm like that now. I don't let nobody take my energy. Like if a mofo get on the phone and they get the rah 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 click, I ain't dealing with that shit. I'm hanging up so dang fast. I'm not dealing with your attitude. Like,
Right. We don't even know these people. We don't even know these
yeah, I'm
people.
not.
It's not, nah,
Yeah,
don't do that.
I ain't
But
gonna let
you
you ruin
also
my
don't,
day. I'm gonna keep it moving.
and don't reciprocate that energy. You know
Nah,
what? I know you're going through a lot. I'm gonna let you calm down. Maybe you try it again later. Call me if you do decide to do something
mm-hmm.
different, and get off the phone with them.
Yep,
Simple as that.
exactly. But
Okay,
that was.
really,
Oh, go ahead,
really
Ryan.
quick. Were you gonna try another call or no? Because I was gonna
No,
see
I
if
was
we.
going. I saw our time. I at least I just wanted to
Okay.
give everybody an example. I don't want to keep going on just to get
Okay.
something on, but I did want to see if
Yeah.
anybody had any questions or anything for me.
Questions. Questions, any experience, any just statements you want to say before we let you guys go? Yeah, I think we're at about an hour now. So yeah, anybody have questions? Again, if you're in the academy, with me, you have scripts in the system. You just have to log in there and go to the forms page. We have cold calling scripts. We also have contracts for wholesaling and stuff like that. So if you're a part of the academy, you have the tools you need, and you'll also be set up with the call for your initial one-on-one call with me to get you started. I think everyone should do cold calling at least once a week, maybe a couple times a month at the very least. Because in this market, you're gonna have to pound the pavement. Okay. No matter what you do, pound the pavement, get some lists. If you get a few listings, it'll just save you so much time with, okay, maybe you do have another job, maybe you have something else going on. Grab a few listings, then you can take some time apart and do some other stuff, right? So, or get some off-market deals. I just got a really dope off-market deal in Beverly Hills that I'm doing, that I'm wholesaling. A lot of this is just from networking, just talking to people, right? So if no one has questions, you want to say any last words, Joseph, before we get off of this?
I think I know one that comes up, nobody may have asked you, but one that comes up is like, when is a good time to make your calls? I always say, make them when you can make them. Make them when you can make them. If you work in another full-time job, I get it. It's very, very hard. I get on my sister. My sister does real estate up in Northern California, and I tell her, you got an hour on your lunch break. Make your calls then. You know what I mean? And then after you get off, make your calls from 5 to 6. Whatever works best for you. I will say, like, I've noticed that after about 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or six to seven, I get my best answer rate. I get a lot of pickup, and it makes sense because people are probably going to pick up their kids. Their day is winding down. They're off work. I get more of an answer rate during that time. But I also know people that call first thing in the morning, and their answer rates can be around the same. But the biggest thing is just being consistent. As long as you're being consistent, it'll work no matter when you call it.
Yeah, and also keep in mind different time zones. So if you are calling out of state, keep in mind, if you're calling right now, you're calling on the East Coast at 4:30 p.m. If you start calling, you don't start calling till 4 or 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and you're calling the East Coast, you're calling them at bedtime.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind. Besides that, I do want to just thank you, JD. I have some stuff planned that JD doesn't even know about. We have some things that we're going to be doing because I really want him to do more examples of the calls, and really dive deep into the cold calling. We have a lot in store. Super excited. Again, guys, we're going to do some cold calling together. I have some VAs that cold call. If you need some, $100, I think it's like $100, you get 10 hours of cold calling or VA services. So that'll be something. If you need that, you guys message us and let me know, or send me a message and let me know. My team knows about it. But cold calling will help you keep your pipeline full. All right. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Tap in. We'll send the links out again. Marketing Strategy Wednesdays, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Next week, we will have Miss Rhea Cotton, one of our teammates. She's an agent on our team, and she's going to go over real estate and technology. It's going to be super dope. She's super tapped in. She's up in the Bay Area, so she knows all that tech stuff.
Nice.
All right, guys. I'm gonna let you go. If you guys have questions or you want to reach out to JD, you guys let me know. I'll connect you. He is the cold calling champ. So, all right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ms. Ryan. And great job, Mr. Joseph JD.
Thank
Hey,
you
thank
so
you,
much.
Carl, man. I
All
appreciate
right.
it, man. I hope everybody y'all got a little something from it. As Ryan said, if y'all got questions or anything you want a deeper breakdown, or I get it. Sometimes you're too embarrassed to ask on the call. I get it. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll try my best to help any way I can. I know how
Okay,
it is when you get started.
what's your IG handle so they can follow you and
Oh yeah. IG, same thing. The Champ of Real Estate. Make the THE Champ of Real Estate. Emails the same thing. The Champ of Real Estate at gmail.com.
All right, great. All right, guys, dope. Have a great day. Let's go make some money, get some deals. All right, and I will talk to you later. Bye
Be easy,
bye.
y'all.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jay. Bye bye.